The domestic advisors, physicians, and other moral reformers who admonished women about their responsibility to bear children became more fervent in the 3 decades preceding 1900. Critics were aware of the declining birth rate of white Anglo-Saxon families during the 19th century. For white women between 15 and 44 years old, the birth rate dropped from 278 live births per 1,000 women in 1800 to 124 live births per 1,000 in 1900. Average family size decreased from 5 children, in 1800 to between 5 and 6, 3.42 children in 1910. The drop in the birth rate among white middle-class women and the simultaneous immigration of large numbers of allegedly fertile Southern and Eastern European women threatened the stability of the existing social order of late 19th century America. If the good native stock of America continued to have smaller families than the immigrants, who would rule? Cultural critics blamed apartment living, contraception, and abortion for the declining birth rate. Abortions were inexpensive and common in the late 19th century. $10 was a standard rate in New York and Boston, and in 1898, the Michigan Board of Health estimated that 1/3 of all pregnancies were artificially terminated. The availability of abortion and contraceptive devices may not have actually increased between 1870 and 1900, but the published outcry against them indicates a growing cultural concern. Holland condemned the great and growing vice among the young married people of this country, a vice which involves essential murder in many instances and swells the profits of 1,000 nostrum vendors. Abortifacients could be purchased through the mail and were quietly promoted in the magazines and books of the period. Monsieur Demeraux's Preventive to Conception, for example, was advertised in Dr. A. M. Morisot's The Married Women's Private Medical Companion, a long and detailed treatise in favor of birth control, which detailed horrors of caesarean butchery, prostitution, poverty, promiscuity among men, and propagation of the lesser intellects of the species. Morisot was the sole American agent for the patent medicine contraceptive, which neutralized the fecundating properties of semen. For $10, he guaranteed that the packages can be forwarded to all parts of the United States. The argument against family limitation and childless marriages went beyond arguments for racial or national preservation. Children were an expression of the era's moral equation of intercourse and procreation. Sex without reproduction was immoral. Holland had characterized the woman who, by cool and calculating choice, is no mother, as either very unfortunately organized or essentially immoral. Half a century later, Mary Wood Allen, a physician in charge of the purity department of the Woman's Christian Temperance Union, similarly snarled, "If she purposes deliberately to avoid motherhood, she puts herself in a position of moral peril, for such immunity is not often secured except at the risk of criminality. All attempts to secure the pleasures of a physical relation and escape its legitimate results are a menace to the health and a degradation to the moral nature."